So good morning, everyone. My name is Carlos Huerta. I serve here at the Center for Community Transformation at Fresno Pacific University. I, along with Larry Hodges and Andrew File on your screen here, will be your facilitators and your trainers for this process in our Faith and Finances training. And just so you all know, you are here in the Faith and Finances training. And so if you think you're in the wrong class, now is the time to leave. But if this is where you intended to be, welcome. I did want to say a little bit about myself, and I'll give Andrew an opportunity here. You did get to hear a little bit about Larry, but I'm Carlos Huerta, born and raised in the little town of Carruthers, California. I live in Fresno now. I am also a Sunbird through and through, and I work here at Fresno Pacific University. I have been serving with Faith and Finances since 2013 with Andrew and Larry. And at this point, we've been able to train over, I believe, 160 facilitators in the Central Valley, with over 40 churches and more than 30 community benefit organizations here in the Central Valley. We also do national training for the Chalmers Center and Faith and Finances. And so you'll see us connected in those circles as well. And just food for thought, if y'all have ever read the book When Helping Hurts, Helping Without Hurting, those same authors are the ones who produced this Faith and Finances training. And so we very much have been connected to them for the last decade. So all that to say, I'm also married. I have a 7 and 2-year-old who don't stop growing very, very fast. And so life is rich, life is full, and God is good. I'm also part of Midtown Church here in the Tower District. And yeah, you'll see me serving in various capacities in the city. Andrew, would you like to say a little bit about yourself this morning?
Yeah, good to be with y'all. Andrew File. I work at Every Neighborhood Partnership, so local nonprofit, community-based organization that we're about 14 years old. We help volunteers and folks connect to elementary schools, and we support kids in their learning and create safe spaces for kids. And then on the other side, we do a lot of resident development, so developing leaders, helping them change their neighborhoods and impact our city's future. So yeah, I've been doing that for about 6 years. And the work for me, Faith and Finance I served on a board of a nonprofit called Neighborhood Industries. They're a thrift store that does job development training, and was just recognizing this like niche and this need to really support financial literacy with low-income folks. You know, I had done Dave Ramsey, and it was really helpful to me personally as a middle-class white dude. But as I started to recognize, like, it doesn't translate, and I was looking around, and I came across Faith and Finances, and Larry, Carlos, and I got trained, and it's been such an amazing community. I really feel part of the Chalmers world and their team, and so you're stepping into a really great space. And I have 4 kids, so 4 boys from 10 to 3. Yes. Oh, wow. It's a lot. But really great, really fun. I go to Midtown Church, a new church plant in the kind of the Tower District neighborhood. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me. I'm so glad to be here. I look forward to working with y'all, and it's a fun learning journey. And I know in this space, even look at the names, I probably know about a third of you. I'm going to learn a ton. So you guys are content experts. You've been doing this work. So I'm also excited to, garner new insights and wisdom from your experience. So, yeah.
So thank you, Andrew. Thankful to be along the ride with you here.
Yeah.
We do also have Dr. Kathleen Lawler with us today, who is part of our CCT team. And some of y'all actually may have worked with her to get recruited, if you will, and signed up through the process. So Kathleen, we're glad you're here. I am going to ask y'all, I would love to do introductions of everyone, but we're a pretty large crew this time around. So what I'm going to ask y'all to do is, can you put your name, your congregation or ministry that you're with, and then tell us your favorite dessert. And then go ahead and stick it in the chat, and then we'll talk a little bit about that here.
Carlos, what's your favorite dessert?
Oh man, cannolis for sure. Really good cannoli is hard to find in Fresno.
I had never had one, and then I went to Boston, and like everybody's like, "That's what you got to get." I was like, "I don't know what a cannoli is."
No, I love a good cannoli, man. There's a place on Shields and First called Callejas. It's a little Mexican bakery, and they make great cannolis, but they don't compare to East Coast cannolis. Oh,
Cheesecake for me,
cheesecake for you, just
New
regular
York
cheesecake.
style. It's got to be like the really thick New York style.
Ooh. I see some head nods there. All right. Jane Ann, DC in the house. Warm walnut brownies. That sounds fantastic. I see creme brulee. Oh, good choice, Bethany. And something I will say is, this is what I love about our space here is we always have a mix of congregations, churches, as well as community benefit organizations, nonprofits, and sometimes businesses who are taking these courses to do it with their own institutions. Hi, Ashley. It's good to see you. Ashley's husband and I used to coach against each other once upon a time. We were both coaching high school track and cross country. We also competed against each other in track once upon a time. All right. Sweets, chocolate, mint chocolate chip ice cream, banana pudding. Oh, this is great. Ice cream and lemon bars. Man, y'all hungry yet?
Right.
Blackberry cobbler. I see ice cream with berries. I see the Fresno Rescue, the Fresno Mission's in the house. I see Restore Merced is in the house. Man, this is great. I'm taking these down because at the end of this course, we're actually going to have a celebration and doing some of this in person. So I'll try to track some of these desserts down just for fun.
Zach, my wife does really good chocolate chip cookies. We had them last night. A good hot fresh chocolate chip cookie. Oof, it's good.
With it. All right, y'all. Keep posting those in there if you haven't already. Lemon cream cheesecake. I've never had that, and that's absolutely fabulous. All right, so keep posting this in here. I'm actually going to share my screen with y'all today and actually jump in. I have seen a lot of y'all already have posted your work for this week. Fantastic job jumping into it. Week one, just food for thought. And as I share my screen here, sessions do run from, class weeks, if you will, run from Monday through Sunday. So courses will open up, like if you're up that late, like 1 a.m. on Mondays, and then it'll close at 11:59 on Sundays. Just the way the system works. So if you're trying to do, get ahead of the week at 12:30 in the morning, it's probably not going to be open. But all that to say is just know that course runs from Monday through Sunday. You will see in each of the weeks that you do have a little time or a date stamp when it opens and when it'll close. And you'll see that all the way through. On your end, you actually won't see these yet open, right? What will be open for you are week 1 and week 2, both the intro unit and unit 1. I'm actually going to pop this open and walk through this with you. Oops, excuse me. And show you just how to navigate the system, just so everybody's familiar with this really quick. I would encourage y'all, if you did engage with the platform this week and you still have questions, can you stick those in the chat? Because I'd love to go through them as we're exploring the website together. But this is Pathright, okay? And so you'll have an introduction video from Larry, Andrew, and I. And each week you're going to have a video that we're going to watch together. And this week you also have a prompt. This one simply is to introduce yourself to the group. Man, y'all are great. There are 13 of you that have done this already. And it's only like day 3/4. We're not even through the first day with the course being open. So this is fantastic. A couple things that I love about what the program does, it actually breaks down language in the program so that we all have a common language through this process. It gives you an idea of, hey, what's an ally, an advocate, a facilitator, a lead trainer, and a participant. Just so y'all know, each of you are being trained as a facilitator. That's what this process is. the hope by the end of this is that you'll have the confidence and the competence to then go forth and lead a faith and finances training in your own context, whether that's in your church, in your nonprofit. I do trainings in Section 8 community centers here in Southeast Fresno, where I live. And so there it is malleable to wherever you want to fit it in. I know some folks do it in their own businesses and place of work as well. You actually have a sample facilitator guide as well that you can look at. I will note that each of you have a physical guide that you will receive as well that will hand off to you. And so that physical copy will get to you by week 5. And what I do recommend in navigating this platform is just using these little bubbles up here. You can use a little arrow too, but that way you're going through the next pages. And so again, you see you have different readings, and this is simply the intro week, as well as a dive deeper section. This dive deeper section is optional, even though I highly recommend it. Andrew, I think you probably would as well, just because it really does lay an even stronger foundation for what we're jumping into. As Andrew mentioned, Faith and Finances is designed to be a low to moderate income faith and finance or financial literacy training. It's very culturally competent to the population that most of us are serving. And so again, the difference between a program like maybe Dave Ramsey or Crown Ministries or some of those is that the audience is very much, this curriculum is very much tailored to the audience. And so a lot of this dive deeper material just kind of lavishes on what we're going into. And then you all should have received a Zoom link from us to jump into this call through a calendar invite. In case you didn't, I will always send a reminder at the beginning of the week with that Zoom link, but you also can find that Zoom link here online. I'm going to pause really quick. I see a question. Oh, okay. Any questions? What I've thrown up on the screen so far?
I'm wondering, does the Zoom link connect change every week, or is it the same one?
It's the same Zoom link every week.
Okay.
We try to simplify that for y'all.
Yay.
It's a good question. Any other questions? All right, let me jump into one more thing on my screen here for y'all. So Unit 1, Catching the Vision. Know that each week, as we jump into this, you'll have a lead trainer prayer. Here's one of our friends, Marcia, who's located in SoCal, that we've worked with for years. You'll have different prayers from different trainers across the country, and maybe even some familiar faces as well. Again, as I mentioned, you do have a video. This one's a little bit under 12 minutes long, and then you have a reflection question tied to each video to guide the discussion. I would really encourage y'all to lean into these conversations. Part of what y'all are going to be doing is spending the next 7 hours. You're going to be spending 7 hours over the next 6-ish weeks with us here. And so I think you'll get the most out of what we're doing through this training. And as you go back and take this to your participants, as you engage in conversation with other leaders in congregations and community benefit organizations. You have a definition of what it means to be certified here on tab number 2. Just maybe more legal beagle compliance stuff there. You have a helpful map to help you understand, hey, here's your faith and finances journey. Once I'm trained, what does that mean? What can I do next? This week, we're actually going to be talking about building a team. One thing that we'll always say is it's really helpful to not go at this alone. Anytime I facilitate a course, I'm doing it with another facilitator or 2, but I also always try to build a team so that you're not at it alone. Because it's not just about facilitating a course. We will not underestimate what it takes to pull off a course, from marketing and recruiting participants to coordinating childcare, coordinating food, coordinating a space. There's multiple different action items that need to happen along the way. And so we want to make sure we're upfront about this and know that you are building the team to make sure that this program is successful in your context. And so again, I feel like Chalmers does a fantastic job in laying out these expectations here. And then each week we'll actually have prayer points. We're going to ask you to lean into prayer with us, and we'll be praying along with you through the different prayer points you'll see each week. And again, you're going to have a dive deeper section here. And finally, you'll see the Zoom link at the end of this section. So all that to say is, from what my vantage point, having done this online version, I feel like it's pretty straightforward. But please don't hesitate to reach out to Larry, Andrew, and I. We actually are breaking y'all up into thirds. So a third of y'all will work with Andrew, a third with Larry, and a third with myself. And we will be able to be your direct coaches to answer any questions or provide any support along the way. Just FYI, when it comes to completing the program, Chalmers does require the course to be completed in full, and there be full engagement through this process. So make sure that when you're going online, at the end of each section, there's going to be a little blue button that says complete step. Just make sure you're clicking that button, that you receive credit for it. And as your lead trainers here, we'll verify your participation in weekly calls and your participation in weekly assignments. So again, thank you for your grace in understanding this expectation. And before I hand things off to Andrew here, any questions? Now's your chance. Or else y'all make me think I'm doing a great job explaining this to you.
Please ask your questions. Please.
And if it matters to anyone, yes, I'm drinking from a Dodger cup, and yes, Andrew's also a Dodger fan.
And I don't think Larry cares, so he's the Dodgers fan indirectly.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I'm in the wrong faith and finance then. I'm gonna have to go. No, I'm
I'll
just
start a
kidding.
breakoff group.
Yeah, there we go. We'll be the breakoff group then.
Andrew. Well, I think that's it for me here. Can I hand things over to you?
Yeah, definitely. So what we're going to do kind of in these sessions, so part of it will be as we go through the future weeks, right? So each of it is a little bit of the look back. So you have content throughout the week. And then this is a chance, you've done some commenting or responding to maybe, like, I think about it like a text thread. You know, some of you that haven't done college in a couple of years, this is the new format, is people do a forum and some sort of comment or post. So I would really think about it like you're logging on and you're just trying to see what other people are learning, what stood out to them, what were their highlights. You can, obviously you need to post, but I don't encourage you to respond, read at least a couple other participants. There's a little heart button so you can like it. And then this is a time also to like come back and say, hey, you know, Gina, I read your post. I thought that was amazing. Like, did anybody else see that? Or what are your thoughts around it? Come ready to engage, ask a question, to share your feedback. Because, you know, really the reason we do this space is like, we come to learn from one another. We come to like figure out how do we actually integrate these philosophical, theological, practical tools into our life, and how can we embody them as we facilitate a class. So that's really the point of this. So we'll do a little look back. We'll have some discussion elements, and then we'll do a look forward. So here's the things that are coming up. Here's the things to know. Throughout this class, you're going to look at the curriculum. You're actually going to give some comments on the curriculum, and then you're actually going to facilitate a sample lesson. So we'll get to that. That's not till week 5. So we have plenty of time till we get there, but you're actually going to facilitate. You're going to get in groups, do either Zoom, or if you're in Fresno, we can work it out. Love for you to record together. Maybe we'll put, you know, regions together, or said team can do it together, or that kind of stuff. But so yeah, so we're really excited about that, and hopeful for what it'll be. Let me see here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So I'm going to do a little kind of preview of some things to come. and some things that you need to know about. So these are kind of some of our key points for this week. So first, Carlos hit it a little bit, but one of the things you're going to see in the intro week is these kind of key terms. So these are roles that I want you to be mindful of and to be thinking about in our class. So the first one is an ally. And an ally is really somebody who's coming alongside your participants in your class. So they should have some level of financial stability. But what I often see and what Carlos and I have experienced is most people, when you're going to do a financial literacy class, you think of, oh, who should I have? Well, I should have somebody that knows finances. Like I should have a financial investor, or I should have, somebody that's wealthy or really good at their finances and loves doing this stuff. Sometimes, like I think having somebody that loves it and is really, really passionate about it can be really good. What we've also noticed is that sometimes the person that's the best ally is somebody that's just really good at walking alongside people. They have a skill of being patient, of being self-reflective. They understand that like just telling somebody what to do is not the answer always, right? You gotta help understand what the problem is and support people. So that's that ally. In small classes, you may not need an ally, but once you get into 5 to 10 and larger, you're going to need some support. You're focused on as facilitators, you got to facilitate the class. So having somebody there that's at the table going like, all right, how do we now do your monthly budget? Or let's walk you through these lessons. And some of our participants don't have really good literacy skills too. So we want to just be mindful of an ally that can support them. You have an advocate, and that's really, it could be somebody at the church, the organization. You're pulling them in to help you actually get the class going. You're helping them actually support running the class. Because like Carlos said, if you're doing food, you're doing childcare, all the sticky notes and things, there's a lot going on. Facilitator, that is you guys. You're becoming trained facilitators. So it could be paid or volunteer. Lead trainer, that's Carlos, Larry, and I. We are the lead trainers. So we've not only facilitated classes, we've now gotten trained by Chalmers. I don't know how many between Carlos, Larry, and I don't know, we've probably trained 12, 13 classes at least. Yeah.
Way too many. No, I think at this point we're at a rhythm where we do 2 every year. And I think I do at least 1 or 2 more with Chalmers every year. I think. Yeah.
I just wrapped up a class. I had participants from everybody in my class was from a different state, which is really fun. So I had 12 folks from 12 different states. So those are key terms, right? You're going to hear those over and over and over. Again, you can go back to this lesson and kind of look back at them. Here's a flow of the lessons. So I want to this is important. And one of the things we heard often from our folks, we just changed over this setup here, is we just added the actual curriculum. So this is your facilitator guide. You're not going to get a hard copy yet. Those will probably get shipped out soon. But this guide is actually has all the core lessons in it. So you can pop this open. This is like a digital viewer. You can't download it. But this helps you actually see what every lesson is like. Look at this, CCT got a shout out, boom. But these are the core content. This is the lesson, this is how it flows. So we used to not give you that preview, but we did. But I just want to show you the flow of the lesson. So you have 12 weeks that make up the curriculum and divided into 4 main sections. So you have your first section that is really about the philosophy, the ideas. We wait till week 4 to get to savings goals and looking at that kind of stuff, right? So you're building the core ideas, which focus around that God is using his resources to do his work in this world. And he's using your money and your relationships in that process. And so the first 3 weeks are there. Then you get into setting goals and budgeting. Then you get into the sound practices of financial management, and then kind of protecting those stuff you built, the assets. So that's the flow of the lessons. As we'll get to throughout each week, Chalmers is totally open and recognizes that this is not a one-size-fits-all process. So I know we have some folks on the mission on the call. Some people that do the class, they don't have any income, so you got to get creative with that. Some folks only have 6 weeks to do the content, so you got to figure out, what are you cutting, how are you condensing, right? We've done the class. I know I've facilitated in sessions that do it in 8 sessions or 10 sessions. And so we got to chop 2, we got to combine some. So there's a lot of creativity. There's a lot of flexibility, but the full package of the design is kind of built over these 12 weeks, right? So just want to name it up front, like you have total creative freedom. By the end of our class, you will understand why it's built the way it is. So then you will know how to tweak it, how to make it work for your setting. If you can, typically it's great to just do it one time through the way it's designed before tweaking, but we all have different things we got to do. So again, as Carlos said, each of your posts, just go in here. As you look over it, just type your comment, write your comment there, reply. You can give, let's give Melissa a little heart button there. And then you could also respond and reply to folks and engage with them there. So there's also a section where you can ask questions. So if you want to post your own discussion prompt, people will often put a question here like, hey, I was thinking this. You can put a question and we'll see that and respond to that as well. So again, just some important kind of overviews and framings. After kind of seeing that, seeing the terms, any questions? What questions do you have after seeing the curriculum and some of those key terms?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How many replies do you want us to do?
I don't think there's a minimum, right, Carlos? Just post.
Okay.
So yeah, so just post, I teach with FPU as well, Fresno Pacific. And typically every forum post, you have to respond to 2 comments. And everybody does the same. Oh, I really loved your answer. Blah, blah, blah. There's a real rhythm and copycatishness to the response. I think read over a couple and then I'll comment on a couple each week just so you all to see that we're engaging too. But yeah, no minimum, Gina. Just post it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
What else? Other questions? Okay. So one of the things I want to just talk through real quick. Oh, there's a chat here. One of the things I want to just mention real quick, I mentioned my own personal experience. So I had started with another tool, Dave Ramsey. I had started with a different financial education tool. And then I came to Chalmers and Faith and Finance. And I think what I assumed up front is that it would just be the same type of content, but it would be for low-income folks. So the goalpost would be moved, right? Instead of saving for college, it's just going to be, how do we get 1 month of emergency funds or something like that, right? I thought just we'd move down from, we're trying to save, $3,000 to $500 or $100, right? I thought that would kind of be the difference. But what I've come to recognize is that Chalmers Faith and Finances is very different. So what you're going to see as you even go through these units and go through these lessons is what often in other financial literacy tools is that they're built for head knowledge. So they assume that the content is like, you put in a DVD, you download a video, you press play, and you get content from experts. Believing that content is really the king, right? Like that's what does everything. What you're going to see with Chalmers and with Faith and Finances, it's a very relational approach. It's very interactive. That it is going to engage a ton of learning styles and education levels. So we're going to get to it, but there's skits, there's like acting out, and there's drama, and there's a storyline that runs throughout of a family and their journey in financial literacy. And that is really, really intentional. because not only is it good for low income and moderate income folks, it's good for all of us. Like, we learn through story. We're story driven people, and having to engage the material in a way where we see somebody do it, we see something play out, we then think about it personally, we then apply that information, and then we act on that information. Like, that's actually how adults learn. And it's not just head knowledge, it's actually like hitting our mind, our heart, putting it into action. It moves us and challenges us and shapes us. And so it's not this like traditional classroom environment where expert is up there, we all just listen and take notes. That is not Faith and Finance. It's a conversation. It's a community where we're all learning together and we're all growing together. I think some of the other educational tools you'll see out there as well. The biblical content is very, it's like a verse. Like, before we start the lesson, hey, let me throw in a verse from Proverbs that says this about financial management. That is not Faith and Finance. This is like a worldview of like that God is using money to do his work in this world. Everything we're doing is looking to see how could God shape us and challenge us and move us. That it has a deep biblical integration, and you're going to see that. So I encourage you, as you want to look over this curriculum, like pop it open, look at some of the lessons. And see how like the biblical integration is woven in. And again, it's not just a verse citation, it's really deep content. Some of the other curriculums, financial education curriculums, they require a lot of financial education to understand and lead. This is not one of those. You have to have some basics, right? Like, part of you've seen in the facilitator requirements, like you got to have some of your own basic financial knowledge, but it really is a process at which we're setting some foundational concepts here, and you can even be a co-learner in the process. So we don't get into the weeds of comparing interest rates and all that kind of stuff. Some of the really technical financial tools, we don't go there. This requires just a willingness to apply your knowledge. And again, as I think about what's the goal between Faith and Finance, what's the goal between some other financial education tools, the goal for some, especially I'd say a Ramsey kind of experience, goals like financial independence. It's very individualistic. It has that individualism mindset of America, whereas the goal for Faith and Finances is Christ-centered restored community. You're going to hear that over and over. Is like, we want to create a new radical community where people are known, they're supported, they're cared for. If folks become financially independent, great, I guess. But as long as they're independent means they don't need other people. Like, that's not what the kingdom's like. The kingdom's a community that needs and relies upon one another. And so you're going to see that over and over, and you're going to feel that. So I encourage you, if you didn't expect that shift or that different way of being, I encourage you to be open to seeing those differences and to consider how God may want to shift your worldview, how God may want to intersect your mindset about finances and what God is doing. So thoughts about hearing that? How does that sit? You can also put in the chat or respond. Has anybody else facilitated any other financial literacy curriculum? You can feel to unmute too.
Yeah, just a question. So I've been working with Dave Ramsey for quite a while now, and the biggest problem that I've had with Dave Ramsey, at least, was that he leans so heavily against developing credit or a line of credit or things like that. Is there any difference, at least in the terms of like credit building or even talking about credit as anything more than a negative in this program?
Yeah, it's I have to look at, let me go back to my course overview here. So in taking loans and managing debt, sessions 8 and 9, and then really 10, we'll get into building credit and talk about some very basic frameworks around it. So it is not, it talks about it as a tool. There's actually a story that utilizes credit as an example for buying a washer and dryer or a computer, and it's like some clothing for a job, right? So it's talking about how these are building, for to get a better pay or take care of some other opportunities. So yeah, so it's not as
Awesome. That's
it
great.
is the devil. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I,
wonderful.
and I see Randy mentioned there, we do talk about the differences between like good credit and bad credit and establishing some of those healthy habits. It's like, hey, like here's an unforeseen emergency where we might need to put it on a credit card, right? But something like, hey, you want to go to the beach and put it on a credit. Maybe we save ahead for 3 months and build that way. And I think the curriculum does a fantastic job in explaining, paying off a credit card is very much the same thing as saving up for it ahead of time. You're just not paying interest on it, right? And so, but it's that habit of kind of flipping that around and saying, could we plan ahead instead of doing it on the back end? It's easier said than done in theory, I will say that much. But again, when we get into those credit, it does break down the differences here. Also breaking down things like internal factors. What are things that people can control versus external factors? Hey, these things are completely out of your control. And while we need to be aware of them, right, what are things that are in your control? And, for depending on your context here and defining needs and wants, we do jump into helping folks understand like what's the difference between a need and a want. And it's like I'm walking through Walmart with my son and he goes, Dad, I need that. And I was like, you don't need another action figure. You just really want that, right? And in some contexts, we may take that for granted that some folks actually don't actually know the difference between a want and a need and being able to distinguish that. I say that just because when it comes to finances in many of the low to moderate income contexts that we serve, there's a lot of shame behind finances and people aren't really, it takes a lot for people to open up and just be honest about like, hey, I ended up in this situation because of my mismatch, my stewardship, my inability to steward effectively. And so there's a lot of conversations around that. We will ask participants to also pull a credit report as well, not a credit score, but a credit report. And I can't tell you how many times I've had people pull a credit report for the first time in their lives in these classes. And so, but again, that is the first step to financial freedom, is just getting a point in time status, if you will, for folks. So to kind of build on what Andrew said here, we do dive into credit here as well.
Andrew, I was going to ask you a question. Are you familiar with Larry Burkett, late Larry Burkett?
Yeah, Crown.
Yes. Is this faith and finance similar?
Yeah. So I think some of those. So at its core, I would say the similarity is that God cares deeply about finances. That finances are inherently relational. And that like part of the Jesus community should be an appropriate use of finances. In that way, yeah, I would think that the method, the delivery, right? Like Crown was designed and written for a middle class educated audience. So it's a workbook. It's very lecture or audio and that kind of format. This is very interactive, totally different style and delivery.
Okay.
But I think some of those core values are somewhat similar. And again, this is about creating a restored community, not about just individual financial wealth.
Okay. Well, I like the fact that it is relational, Christ-centered, restoring the community. I looked at Dave Ramsey. It wasn't it for me. I know a lot of pastor friends of mine. They are doing this so that congregation might be able to give to the church. Many of them unable to give because they're so in debt. So
Right.
I think this is very, very good faith and finance. I'm really interested in it. So thank you for the information. I'm just looking forward to learning more about it.
That's good.
If I may, I'd like to share, I've had experience with the Larry Burkett financial program. And I feel, in my own personal opinion, it taught me more about the 80-80, the 80-20 thing, the tithing. And there were some educational tools that I walked away from there with. However, I didn't understand them all at the time because I didn't have a job, I wasn't making money. And so, but I felt like that curriculum was geared more towards a mature Christian that understood the 90%, because God wants his 10% off the top, and that you have enough to live on if you cut down the things that we want. Like, I don't need a cell phone or, things of that nature. But I found it instrumental in helping me understand what tithing was about.
Good. Okay.
Thank you, Rosalind. It's helpful. All right. So one note, and I do want to hit this, because even as you look at our flow of our class, what you're going to see, and what I typically recognize too, is folks want us to get into the logistics of facilitating, and want us to, all right, like, we've been in these online Zoom sessions, and we still haven't gotten to the, like, how does the curriculum work? Because the first 2 sessions, even of our online format, and then the first 3 sessions of the curriculum are all foundations, right? So Unit 1, connecting money and relationships. Unit 2, exploring values and attitudes. And Unit 3, overcoming financial challenges. As you see those 3 units, those are all before we get to saving, budgeting, right? All those kind of things. Why do you think the curriculum, I put the question there in the chat, why do you think the curriculum might wait so long to introduce budgeting?
Is that a question to us?
Yeah,
Or-
open question. Yeah.
I think because it's faith and finances, and my own perception of when I was looking at the overview, we were created for relationships, that with us, with our money, with our fellow man, humanity in general. And I think understanding the relationship to money before we can understand what we need to be doing with it, or how we handle it, or preserve it, or spend it, or give it away. I think all that stuff that comes after, I actually appreciate the flow. And I thought, wow, it's like one baby step on top of the other, just becoming this huge, it's like starting off a toddler and growing up, right? And that's my view.
Good image.
So I hope that helps a little bit, but that's my take on it. I think it's important to understand the relationship to money and the values and attitudes are properly placed, because some people, we can get pretty angry about some money. And you loan somebody $1 and want it back and they forget to pay you. The Bible says, let them have it. It needs to become a gift.
Right.
But we can get all iffy about that 50 cents. If it's a penny and it got my name on it, I want it back. But so I think there are some concepts like you mentioned about the biblical integration. There are some foundational concepts that help get us to where, if we understand these, then we'll understand when we get to budgeting what that means. I've budgeted before, out the window. I've saved before, out the window. So I think it happened because these foundational concepts weren't laid firmly for me. And I'm excited to learn how to do this really well.
Thank you, Rosalind. Anybody else want to chime in? Love to hear from somebody else too. Why do you think the curriculum waits so long to get there?
Hi, Andrew.
Hey, Tanisha.
I took the class, and so I needed to understand at the time I had taken it to like Rosalind was saying, just understanding and getting the back history of finances, money, and my relationship to money, or the fact that I even had one, the attitude behind the money, especially in marriages. That's one thing that causes for divorce. So just being able to really understand that. The spending plan, I think the wow factor was all those receipts. And you had to bring them together, and you really, you had to keep track for a week, and you're like, I'm spending that much money. So that gives you it gave me rather a better appreciation when it came to the budgeting. I kind of knew what I was doing, why I needed to do it, why I need to get rid of certain things. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, thanks, Tamisha. Yeah, so what she's saying too is during those 3 weeks leading up, or 4 weeks leading up to the savings plan there in Unit 5, you're actually saving a month of spending. So giving you some time to think about these concepts, to spend, and then reflect before getting to a spending plan. So yeah, so you come in ideally, you've had a month of spending. How did it go? Even being mindful of your spending, and then you're working on a spending plan. So it's good. And then I see Cindy said it is important to set a good foundation before getting into the details. It's not easy to just change a habit without understanding the relationship with your finances. That's really good. Thank you, Cindy. Well, and I think that ties in. I'll hand it off to Carlos here, but we're going to do that even in this course. So I just encourage you as we get going, recognize that we have, so after this week, we'll have 6 more sessions. I can't say the words, 6 sessions together after this one. And the first couple are really foundational. So it's trying to help you understand what is going on in finances in America. What does the Bible say about finances? What's going on in our relationship? So I encourage you in that process. You're going to want to get to practicals and brass tacks, like how do I do this? How do I build this? What's my plan? We're going to get there. Like we're going to spend time together. You'll get there. Be open to having your foundation shake a little bit, right? Let's build that foundation as a facilitator so that you have a really great, solid house to build. So yeah. Give it over to you, Carlos.
Well, thank you, Andrew, for the fantastic note. And again, I think as Andrew is mentioning, we're just trying to build a foundation. Chalmers has, at this point, what is it, Andrew, done this for 12 years now.
Yeah.
And part of what they always do is take feedback from participants and try their best to make sure that, hey, we are preparing folks to go out and do these courses. Their goal isn't really to just train more people, it's to serve more people in community effectively. And very much so, they're also about building community through these courses. And this is what I love about doing these faith and finances courses is I feel like we're going to become a little community together along the way here. So we're about to wrap up here, but I do want to ask you to do one thing for me is on the bottom of your screen, you have this little reaction button. I actually want you to pick out an emoji and let us know how you feel at this point in time. I see an ear, I see a thumb. Oh, this is fun. All right. Oh, I see a dancing lady down there. That's Lori right there. Good to see you, Lori. All right, folks. So it's been a pleasure hanging out with y'all. We're actually going to give you a little bit of your day back here. So thanks. Just know that most times we will run the full hour when it comes to these conversations. We usually will break out into breakout rooms in our thirds, if you will, with Larry, Andrew, and I. But if y'all don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and actually, Randy, can you hear us okay? Are you on the call?
Yes, I am.
Can I ask you to pray over the group before we close? And by the way, Dr. Randy White is here with us. He's our executive director here at the Center for Community Transformation. But Randy, I'd love for you to say a prayer over the folks as we begin our faith and finances journey together.
I'm happy to. Hey, everybody. Let's pray. Father, thank you for bringing this group of people together. Thank you for the relationships they will build and the learning that'll happen between them. Thank you that you care about repairing our financial lives. Thank you for the fact that the Bible talks more about money than it does even about prayer, because our relationship with money is so central, an expression of our relationship with you, how we use and steward money. And because it affects all of our relationships. How brilliant of you, O Lord, to equip people to address the core issues relating to money. And God, our heart breaks for the ways people are caught in exploitation, payday lenders, and other forms of exploitation. How the most vulnerable pay the most money for things. It's just not right. And we thank you that you are equipping us to address this injustice in our world and in our communities. And I pray you would help us all as we go through the curriculum to gain not only the knowledge and the skill, but to gain the vision for you restoring all things. For you are making all things new, including our money, our families, our work, our community. You are making all things new. And only you can do that. And so we ask that you empower this time, these next weeks that we're going to spend together, and all the reading that will be done offline, that it just open up a whole world, a vision of what you want to accomplish. And you would just build our excitement and motivation, and even our idea of who we might invite to such an experience as this. So would you anoint these hours and days, and would you bless every person involved in the training? Thank you for Larry and Andrew and Carlos and all others speaking into it. We dedicate it all to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Well, thank you, Randy, and everyone. We'll see you online, and if anything, we'll see you next week. Go in peace. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, I love Ashley's roller coaster.
Welcome to the ride, guys. We'll see you guys.